We're literally 72 hours away from Tom Trbojevic and Latrell Mitchell gracing us in their presence in Vegas. I cannot wait to watch that. And in here for this one, we have my top guns and the value targets heading into round one. I've deleted everyone I don't think is close to an option or definitely won't be in that round one team, which we were hoping for, which you saw in those other videos that I did on the guns, the value. And I'll be getting out my cashies video tomorrow, I believe, as well. And I think there's a good chance you get my team reveal tomorrow, a little bit earlier than usual, just because we're focusing on locking in these guys for Sunday. And I'm also going to be allowing for any potential changes on Saturday and Sunday, and that will be kept for the private group guys to find that information out. So if you are interested in learning my week-to-week trades, last minute kind of stuff that can happen, then jump in that private group, guys. All the details are in the description. We're up over 150 people. Super exciting. A big thank you to all of you guys who have joined and all of you guys for watching these videos, because that is the second best way to support myself. But obviously in the private group, you get the competitions and the like as well, on top of all the advice from myself and everyone else on a one-to-one basis. So we had scoops, best guns, value, and cashies yesterday, which has done really well, and I appreciate all you guys and how much you really enjoy Scoop's thoughts and his content. So yeah, big thanks to Lockie and all you guys for watching. So for us here, we're going to look at the guns and then the value for each position all in one hit, so you can see it all in on one screen, and then you can make your decisions on that, guys. So up top there, I've got Harry Grant in the number 1 position. So he's clearly the best hooker by far. And the question really is, can you afford him and cover round 4 as well? The toughest start. That's a big question mark with Grant, but I do think he is the best option. Robson you get for the entirety of the first part of the season, all the way through until if he was to play Origin around 13. But if he doesn't, you get him all the way to round 16. I believe they have a 16 and a 19 buy, so a game off for him in those. Whereas Grant, you've got the buy in round 4, and you've also got him out from round 13, and you're selling him from there anyway. So there's definitely merit in going for a Robson, a Marshall King, something like that, or potentially one of the value guys here in a Lussick Hands or a Brandon Smith. But personally, with Grant, he was more expensive than this last year. Absolutely brained it at the start of the year, and he's cheaper this year. And he sort of hurt me. I felt like it hurt me last year not owning him. Getting Robson early was helpful, like in round 2. But he was still a good portion behind that of Harry, and he's a bit safer. So I think that's where I'll be going with Harry. But Robson is my second best option in this category, even over that of Brandon Smith, I believe, at this point. But I think if you can pick Harry, that's where I'm going to go. Robson, as I said, you get him all the way through that. The trial didn't look incredible, but I suppose with him, if the team is a bit better defensively, they should have a better structure, and he should miss less tackles and be involved in some attacking stats, that's for sure. So he'll definitely do a job for you. And then Marshall King, guys, I think it's hard to take him from the trials. He played big minutes and didn't end up scoring big points, under 30 at that. So he does need the attacking stats, which we saw at the beginning of last year. And no Tom Gilbert doesn't help, but I think they'll be able to cover him in a way, but I think he's going to be getting, try to assist from like Flegler and his guys on the edge in a Lem or a Kafusi as well. We did just get the news, guys, that Aiken isn't going to be getting the job, which is what I thought. I thought it was going to be Lem and Kafusi, and Ted Roker, I think it is, who covers the Dolphins there, has said that Aiken is training with the reserves, but could be on the bench, which doesn't help us at all anyway. So Marshall King, that is him. Obviously, the round 3 bye doesn't help, but he started really well last year. For the hooker value stocks, guys, you've got Lussick and or Hand. So which one of them gets the sort of 70 to 80 minute role? He's going to be in my team, obviously, but there is potentially some switching risks between them. And the question mark now is are both of them going to be in the 17? And if they are, then we will have to avoid. But if they get the job, then they'll have value and they'll be in all of our sides, one of them. If they don't, that brings the question mark of, do you just start with Brandon Smith and have him potentially with one of the other guns, or have him with one of the cheapies who we'll speak about in that next video tomorrow? So they're the 2 question marks there, because Brandon Smith is the only one out of this list that locks out. And once we get the team listed next week, if Lussick or Hands isn't in that squad, then if only one of them isn't in that squad, and it's the 2 of them, then we have some issues with that hooking position, because then like my question mark is then to myself is, do I just start with Harry Grant as the sole hooker and then fix up that position in the first few weeks? And that's probably where I will go at the moment, likely Harry Grant and Lussick or Hands, and make those decisions from there once we find out the team list next week. Again, guys, only players that play this weekend lockout, your vice and your captain. Everyone else you can move around all the way through until they play. So that's the conundrum we have here. I think with Brandon Smith, obviously the duel's good. I think we're going to have enough mids, to be honest with you. So hook is his most important part. That's where he's playing. You have some upside. I think he'll get that 60 to 65 minutes now that Sandon Smith is there. He played a lot of those type of minute games in those games when Sandon Smith was with him last year, and he did look pretty good, apart from almost dying twice in that All-Stars game. He did look good in that and copped a knee in the cheek kind of thing at the end there. But he'll be a good one, guys. If you do go with Brandon Smith, I will not push you away from him, that's for sure. Let's go to the mids, guys, and the guns in this category. You've got Payne Haas. I'm gonna put him as the number one ranking. I think very clearly the best scorer in this position, him and Isaiah Yeo. The difference between the two of those guys is he doesn't have the early bye. Isaiah Yeo has the earliest bye in round 5. So it's not crazy, round 5, but it does mean you'll miss out on a 63 or whatever scorer that Isaiah Yeo is in that week, which you don't have with Payne Haas. Haas also locks out early this week, so you can pop the VC on him. You can put the captaincy on him if that's the way you want to play this. And we know that they're both very, very consistent, and the two clear top options for points, I think, in the mid section there. You're not really going to get any value out of him, and that's why some of these other guys below are potentially guys that you could slot into your side, right? So Cam Murray's next on the list at number 3. He just had so many demerits last season. I definitely think you can expect some bounce back on that front. They also struggled as a team mightily in the mid to back half of the season. After being first round 13, they missed the 8, right? So the team can definitely have some bounce back. He can continue with some of his try scoring and attacking ways in a better team, obviously. But we know that they do like to spread it to left and right, so I'm not sure how much that extra attack for the team will help him, because he did score a few tries in the like last year anyway. But a very good VC option for round 1. Obviously playing over in Vegas as well with Payne Haas. So that's that. Cam McInnes, guys. So he's an interesting one. He's been named co-captain. There's been talk of him playing a little bit of hooker or training there a fair bit. So is this the year that Blake Brayley goes from 80 minutes down to a 65-minute role and try to get a little bit more sort of flair out of him and maybe a little bit more longevity rather than sort of playing the 80 minutes for a smaller guy each and every week? So there's talk of that, but none of that is set in stone, and that's why he's a little bit further down the list. But we know with him, he has really high upside, because if he can get that 60 minutes, he's a 61-point guy when he plays lock. The second question is, does he actually get the lock position? If he's on the bench, then you can't touch him. But if he's in the starting side, then you can definitely look at him, and 50 minutes gets him right around his 50 points. You should expect 50 minutes for McInnes. I think he's a really important player for this Sharks side, and probably been a little bit underutilized in the last few years, just to shore up their defense through the middle, that's for sure. But if he can get 55 to 60 minutes, then it's all gravy from there, and he can make that 100K. My sort of guess here, if that was the way and he got the minutes that we want, it'd be 45 to 50 in the middle, and then anywhere between 10 to 15 at hooker as captain. All question marks that you need to have. So there's more questions than answers, I think, with McInnes, and he would be a little bit of a risk. Tohu Harris, guys. So with him, he should start really, really well. And I haven't got the prices on there for these guys, but you can check the app obviously yourself, and they've been in all the other videos. Just want to make this a little bit shorter and sharper, given it is a split TLT and a split round 1, because we're going to be doing something similar to this next week when we get further information. But sorry, that Cash Cows videos will be pretty heavy come next week, especially when we find out a bit more information and we're clearly locking in our team. So yeah, Tohu Harris, guys, he's going to start really well. He has the last few years, and this is when he's going to be the freshest and his body's going to be the best. I do expect him to play pretty high minutes, and I'm expecting anywhere between sort of 50 and 60 points to kick off the season, priced at a 53, I believe. He could be a really, really solid guy that you can hold throughout the entirety of the year, given they have, he's not going to be playing Origin. Jack DeBellin, guys, has moved down my list, and the other one I really liked in the off-season, the pre-season, was Scott Sorensen. So he's not in this video at the moment, given he's got a leg issue, and I imagine that even if, he's going to be likely starting round 1, but they got Luke Garner, and I do expect him to cover some Sorensen minutes, given he hasn't played any preseason games. Maybe he comes out and plays 60, and that we want him closer to 80. So I've left out Sorensen. De Belin, I've called on him a little bit. He didn't look great in the trial. He did miss a bunch of tackles as well, and that's definitely a worry with him. Running, he didn't look as elusive as he did last year, and that's where his value was. Massive minutes, the elusiveness, the tackle bot, and we're also not sure how many minutes he's going to play as they have more middles now. The other news we actually just got, guys, was Lucy Leilua. It sounds like he won't be able to play the first 2 games. I think he's got charged by the NRL, potentially for his DUI. I'm not exactly sure, but looks like he's going to be, or it's something to do with the transfer of the contract. But anyway, he'll be out for a couple of weeks. So that would help De Belin a little bit, but I also think that it's not worth it gambling on De Belin at his price when you can go for some other options, cheaper or similar price with like Murray and the like, or go above. So the mid-value guys. So I do have Ruben Cotter on top now, guys. That trial the other day looked good. They obviously have lost a couple of middles in the last month with Tanua Brown and also Cohen Hess. Very, very sad news today that he's done his ACL. Prayers up for him, and hopefully he can get back to footy, obviously, next year, and it all goes smoothly, the surgery in the next week or so. Because he's been a much better for the Cows, obviously becoming a middle. So Cotter now, he... with the captaincy, the importance is placed on him a little bit more, and I just think that the downside is very limited, and the upside is closer to those 50s numbers. And I think he's someone that you can lock into your team fairly comfortably, guys. I still think Terrell May is still a really good option. I'm not sure if I'm going to go for him. It's probably unlikely at this stage, but just want you to know that I do think he's going to do great. And I may just offset my losses here for not owning him by having him in Supercoach, just so I do own him in some capacity and can watch him and not be like this and hate it every time he tackles or makes a cracking run to every set or whatever it's going to be. But minutes and stuff, we're just not exactly sure. So that's the big question mark with Terrell. Is it good in the first week, not so good in the second onwards? That's the big question, but I think he'll do really well round 1. David Totola, less upside than that of May, and that's why I have him below. Similar price. Definitely think he can make you sort of 7 to 10 points of value comfortably enough, right? He plays over in Vegas, though, as well with Terrell. So that's something that I don't know if that hurts him or not. There's also some cheaper options, which we'll go through in the edge position as well. But Totola, really solid option, guys. Under 500k, you can't really go wrong with him. Adam Elliott, obviously more expensive. I've popped him down the list a little bit, so I've cooled on him a bit. I still think he's going to have a cracking season, but I think he's going to work into it. And was it Brian Toohey? Barry Toohey, that is the correspondent for the Knights, came out and said that Lucas is going to split minutes with KPP, which is what we thought, and Adam Elliott is going to be in the mid-50s for minutes. And I think that'll be to start, and then see what happens if they lose a middle forward or something. Then he could easily go into the 60s. But I think he's obviously fit. He said he's fit, but I think he's working his way back into sort of the feel of the game and playing big minutes and where he needs to step up and all that kind of stuff. Given he was a very stop-start season last year and hasn't played this role for a long period of time. He's done it in spurts and done really well. So I think he'll eventually make a good amount of money. Not sure if it's going to be from round 1. He just didn't show me enough in the trials to really push for him at 570 odd when there's cheaper options. So that's where I'm at. He's still number 4. Curran, I've still got number 5 because I think with these DPP, so the dual position with mid and edge guys, and very, very likely to be 45 to 50 minutes as a middle forward. If that's the case, he had a virus the other day. That's why he didn't play more minutes in the trial. So I think he can still make money at that and be very close to a point a minute type of guy. And that would be enough for him to make cash. So I'm not completely against him and off him. At over 500k though, again, there's some guys that are priced in the low 30s. There's obviously guys like Terrell, like Totola, that could all do a good job for you as well. And you know what type of minutes that sort of Totola's going to get. May has probably a little bit more upside in terms of a PPM, just a bit above a 1, a lot above a 1 actually. With Curran, you're probably expecting near a 1 in the middle. So yeah, not completely against him. If you're looking at him, I think he'll still do well. Flegler, I think for him, there's 5 points of value. He's likely as the alpha. Gilbert's gone. There's a lot of things in his favour. Obviously, the buy in round 3 is not great, but I think that Flegler should do well for those that do decide to pick him up. I think he's fairly expensive, but I wouldn't push anyone away from him anymore. Now the Gilbert news, that just kind of shores up the middle a bit. There was some talk today, that's from that same guy, Ted, that Max Plath was training at 13. And if you look at him in fantasy, he's priced at 540 something on a 42 average. And he's a half, which is funny. So he'd be half and mid-dual, which would be pretty crazy. But it'd be hard to take him at that price. I wish it was in the 300s or something like that. Then we could look at him for sure. But Jai Arrow, guys, the last one on this list in the mid values. And a big thanks to all of you guys for being here. Discord link is in the description, guys. We've got the podcast. I've got my socials, TikTok. I'm posting there. I'm going to post some short and sharp ones just before the start of the season, and that's growing nicely. And obviously, have a look at the private group as well. All of that is in the description, guys. Arrow there, 41 and 50 minutes last year. He had 4 games under the 31-minute mark. Really, the question mark with him is we are unsure of the edge minutes. Okay, so does he play 60 straight on an edge? Does he play less, like 30 or 40, and then move to the middle a bit? They do have Jacob Host on there, which we weren't sure was going to get there. I just think there's a lot of question marks with Arrow. He's fairly expensive, so I think you can leave him, obviously the 7th ranked guy on my list there for sure. All right, so we move to the edge guns rankings for round 1, guys, and we've got Jermaine Hopgood up top. So he's a dual, obviously with the mids as well. You have him up with those guys there. Dual superstar, I think he's going to do really, really well this year. He's also a good vice captain option as well. I suppose the other notable guy to mention up top was Pat Carrigan. That I think you're going to get a lot of consistency with Paddy, and you can't go wrong with him either. But I'm not personally looking at him, so I'm going to leave him out of that list. So Hopgood's going to be great. Someone you should look at for sure. Eli Katoa. For him, I think I'm expecting a 50 average, and he's a little bit underpriced. And the talk was if Blore was going to get the start, then we select Blore over Katoa because they have a similar upside. But Blore's likely not there anymore. So does that mean Katoa is the guy that you do look at if you want to spend up a bit of cash at the edge without going crazy in the 650s? I think he's definitely an option. But again, the tougher start, the round 4 buy could push you away, and maybe he's an awesome round 5 pick or something like that. So definitely look at that for Katoa. And he'll be good over the origin period as well, if that's the case. Preston, I'm putting in next over Tyson Frizzell. I think he's super reliable with some upside in his second year and really stepping up. He scored a try in the trial games, and he looks awesome. And I think defensively and all that, he'll be more hardened to the NRL and do a really good job. So popping him just over Frizzell because Frizzell's been there a long time. And he's a reliable gun, and we'll leave it with that for Frizzell. If you like him, if you really like the Knights buy schedule, and he's an awesome purchase, because when I went through that previous video where I was looking at the buy period for all of these teams, you'll notice in that one, if you go back and check, as I said, go back to it every sort of few weeks, guys, and check that video out. It's really cool. But with the Knights, they're probably the best team that you could actually hold guys for the entirety of the year and not have to sell them, where each of the other ones, there's a high chance you do have to sell them. The edge value rankings for round 1, guys. So I do have Helam Lukey up top. It's a pretty crazy kind of list there, and a few of these guys I had to delete, and a few guys are in there still, but not exactly sure how that's going to play out with them, obviously. So with Helam Lukey, guys, he is someone that has a tremendous amount of upside there. Obviously, it's superb, as I've written. So the trial, he looked great. He got plenty of runs, which is exactly what he wasn't getting when he was playing previously. They weren't using him enough, and I think that this year they're deciding that if Lukey's our guy, we're going to use him plenty. Whereas last year, Lucy Leilua was getting a lot of those runs. And they do seem to like going to that left edge back rower, obviously with Lucy last year. So I think it's great for him. He has try-scoring upside. He didn't get any of those type of stats on the weekend. And Ethan Strange was sort of wrapped around his ankles for a lot of the game, tackling him around there, and did a really good job of it. So I think Lukey's hard not to take, but there are a couple of guys below him, and obviously in the mid section as well that are cheaper than him. So just under 500k, something to note. But Satili Tupanua, guys, is the next one on the list. I have him just over Wong. So main reasons here are the dual position. He's a little bit cheaper at 20k, 22k cheaper. He also has done it for a long time before. He's been a loved member of this side for a long time. So I think it's hard for you not to take him. He got good minutes in the trial as well, whereas Wong kind of came off the bench on the right-hand side as well, which Tupanua is likely to be on. But Wong also played on the right, I believe, in the finals and stuff last year. So that'll be interesting to see where that ends up. You've got Nat Butcher on the bench. Both of these picks feel a little bit gross to me, if we're being honest. But when they're priced at 30 or 30 and a half, whatever it is, 31 for a Tupanua and 32 for a Wong, it is so hard not to take both of them, because you're looking at guys that really, if they were to play 55 to 60 minutes, they should be getting 30 points, right? They should be hitting their break even. But if they get any more minutes with that, if they happen to get a try in that, then that is the upside that you're looking at with Tupouniua. He's very much a try scorer. If the Roosters happen to have a really good season, they don't have a bye for a good while. These are all big questions that can be very, very helpful for you when picking these two guys. So let's just say they both get 60 minutes. They probably don't have a tremendous amount of upside each, but they still have sort of 7 to 10 points of value with 60 minutes, in my opinion. And then any more than that for one of them, then there's higher upside into the teens. And that's probably what you're looking at. And I suppose if you go with both of them from round one, you could then trade one of them out if they happen to not get the spot, or if Nat Butcher eats into their minutes. Or I think Angus Crichton, we can say that he's not clearly in the picture right now. So it'd be Nat that we're kind of worried about in that one. We're not worried about Egan. He'll be a middle forward, and that's why he's missed this side. So with Tupouniua and Wong, both really good options, but Tupouniua has a couple extra benefits, I think, than that of Wong. Wong's side of things is that he's a second-year player with tremendous upside. So he has higher upside than that of Tupouniua, given Tupouniua is a bit older in this side. Wong showed us in the finals last year with a 71 what he can do. But if you go back to the analysis I did on the value edges, and when I went through Seo Wong, I mentioned that he played 3 games at 70 plus minutes, and then he played 4 games at 50 minutes. So, or the other way around, one of the two. And that ended up with him sort of having about 11 points of value if you put all that together. But that is including those big minute games. And will that happen in some games? Obviously, the easiest thing to see with these edges, if there's any injuries in this team, right? If there's an injury to a middle forward, if there's injury to an outside back, it's very, very likely that sort of Sandon Smith will come on and they'll move someone to an edge. Is it going to be one of these guys? Will it be a Nat Butcher come off the bench and take an edge spot? I think that could be likely. Wong did it a couple of times, actually, in the maybe once in the finals and once in a regular season, where he actually moved to the edge. So that's something as well. And there's a little bit of a worry, but I suppose let's just probably hope that there are no injuries to like an outside back, because that's where these guys could be moved. Wong especially. I think Tupouniua, he's more used like an edge in the middle, and they've got other guys for that. But if there are to be an injury or concussion or something like that, you want it to be a middle forward, because that helps these guys with elevation of their minutes and points. So something to note for both those guys for sure. I think Wong has the biggest minutes risk just at the moment, because he didn't play massive minutes in the trial. So that's where we're at with those two, and I think we'll leave it at that. Hopefully that was comprehensive enough for you guys. I'm potentially taking both of them into Sunday, and then we've got the only thing I forgot to mention, guys, was that anyone who's 400k and below are in the Cash Cows video, so that's gonna be fun as well. Blory's up next. If he gets the spot, I would take him over Lane. He has the upside, but the question mark is, does he get the start? And the minutes and the legs and stuff wasn't there in the trials, so again, similar worries to that of Wong. Sean Lane, is he going to get the 80 minutes? He came off the bench in their trial with Kelma Tuolangi starting. Were they just trying to see where Kelma would fit, if he's good as like a starter or he's good as like an impact guy? But that does give worries to Sean Lane. I wasn't excited about him already, and now I'm less excited about him. So we're going to move on Shawnee Lane. For the half guns, guys, up top for me, it's Cleary, best captain option. He has the highest upside. That's why he's the best captain option, and a fairly low downside. He started pretty poor last year, but I suppose, can he do that again? Sure, but it didn't really hurt us too much, because, round 5, I think, or whatever it was, he got 100. Round 4, he got 80. Jamal Foggs, he was put on ice in the trials, but he is so important for this team. And you're looking at him as someone who has about that 40 mark in base. So everything from there is upside. He's priced in the mid-40s. I just think that he's someone that is so important to this Raiders side. And we saw what happened with Johnson last year. I don't think he has 60s upside, but I think he has 50s upside. So take 10 points away in attack that Johnson was getting. And Foggs could be an early 50s guy pretty comfortably. And still definitely clearly looking at him in my side, given he's a bit cheaper than the next 3 options. And that's Mitchell, Moses there. I think for him, he's potentially 5 points of value if he cleans up his missed tackles that he got in the weekend. He had 7. He's had that in a few games. There's one where I was watching him in the back end when I owned him after holding him through Origin. He had like 11 missed tackles, and that was an absolute killer. But the Eels are likely to improve as well, and he's going to be on the back of that, and his scoring is going to be really, really helpful It was really going to be helped by this Eels team being good. And he's got Bryce Cartwright, he's got Penasini, and Big Shawnee Russell on that right-hand side. He should do really well. Shaun Johnson, guys, the Warriors are flying. I'm not going to push anyone away from Shawnee J. He was incredible last year, and he looks just as good. Potentially, the question mark is, will he run as much in this side? But he's got Roger on the left-hand side now. He's got Kurt Capewell next to him, and that's all going to be great, I think, for Shaun this year. And he could definitely average close to where he's at, so I'm not pushing anyone away from grabbing Shaun. And then Nico Hines, I got him in the fifth spot now. He's got a quad strain. The question here is, does he play, or does he actually kick goals or kick in general play in round one? So Hines, I'm putting down the order on this one just for those reasons, and we'll look at him after either early on in round 2 or 3, or after his bye in round 6 will be the play for Nico. All right, I wanted to put a couple of half value options here for round 1, and I had previously had like Sean O'Sullivan and stuff. He's coming off a concussion. Aiden Caesar, I think, was in there, but I'm going to go with Braden Trindle and Luke Metcalf. So if the thought's here that Hines doesn't kick too much, or he's lost a bit of the, if he loses the goal kicking or something like that, then he could be a guy that you do really look to have in round 1. And it could be like similar to what happened last year with Hines being out for 3 rounds. Does Trindle take all of the kick meters? Does he take the goal kicking and help this Sharks team start well? They have a fairly nice start apart from the Warriors in round 1. So that's what you're looking at with Trindle. It's more if Hines wasn't to play, or we hear that he's not kicking goals. For Metcalf, with the Warriors humming as well, I just think that Lukey hasn't showed us everything yet, and he can definitely have a big improver of a year, and he has Roger Tuivasa-Sheck next to him. So, the injuries are there and stuff for Luke, but I think that he's definitely someone that could have an increase this year. So if you were looking at him, I'm not going to push you away. Supercoach, I'm looking at him more, actually, for those that are playing both. Let's move to the center. Guns, guys. The centers and the wing fullbacks left. Thanks so much for making it all the way through to this part of the video. You're absolute legends for supporting my content there. Center guns. Will Penasini, guys, he is a bit cheaper than the options below him, right? And he looks to have taken the leap with sort of a minimum of 4 points of Moses value. So when Moses is in the team, he's a 46 guy, 42 without him. That also included the Eels, who are struggling at the back end of the year. And, as I said, he looks like he's improved and his hair's grown. So muscles, hair grown means gun points. That's it. Yeah, it's a good chance to lock in my side for sure. Val Holmes, next on the list. I really do like the look of him in people's sides if they have sent me them. The team was poor last year. He's always consistent. And I think the improvement of the squad should help him with the goal kicking and the like. But that Scott Drinkwater left to right pass is a thing of beauty. So, Holmes on the left. So how much does that hinder him in the attacking part of it? But we'll see. Dan Gagai, he is number 3 on the list, guys. It would be crazy to start with him given he's priced ridiculously high, but he's the best scorer in position. I have to include someone who is the best scorer. I won't turn you away. The Knights didn't look incredible in that trial, but he should score well. I just think he'll be back in the high 40s probably and lose you a bit of cash, so I won't be starting with him. And then Isaac Tungol, guys, in the 4th spot there. I think the team's going to be awesome again. He is an awesome player, so he has to be a thought in people's sides. And if you do come to me with him in your side, I'm not going to push you away from that. Let's go to the center value now, guys. And I had Aiken up top, and that was just before I literally found out the news just before we got to this video. But if he does actually start in round 1, if there's an injury or something like that, if he gets a spot, he's hands down the best option in the center value. Under 550 is what I'm doing for center value, or close to that 550 mark. He will be a must-have in people's sides to buy in round 3. But that looks like it's not going to happen now. So Bailey Simonson, he's the next on the list. And the big thing for him is obviously the duel. I think he has a little bit of value, 3 to 8 points. He could definitely do if the team improves, and he looks like he has improved. But the big question now, with Sivo out for 3 games, I think it does help having Sivo on your left, sure. That's a little bit of a loss. But Simonson could be the one to move to the wing spot if Morgan Harper was to get the center spot. They could either do that, or they keep Simonson at center and they put Hayes Dunster on the wing, and I don't think that helps him either. I'm not even going to put Hayes Dunster as an option, guys, in the wing fullbacks, just an FYI, because his scoring is horrendous. And that right side looks really, really strong. So that's where I'm at with Simonson. If he was to be named in the centres, I'm definitely looking at him. If he isn't named in the centres and he's on the wing, I am avoiding like the plague. So that's that. someone that has the position locked down and is looking for a bit of a bounce back, which is what I was speaking about all preseason. And then the trials absolutely showed that that is potentially going to be the case. He looked absolutely awesome and he was used better. So I suppose that could be very helpful for that of Flanagan, who we'll speak about in the Cash Cows video. But on that left-hand side, it won't be in the first few games. It might be Jaden Sewer in the first few games, who looked incredible. But when it's not him, it's going to be Lucy Leilua. He's got Ravalawa on that left-hand side as well. I think he's going to get a lot of his points through running, right? Tackle breaks, tries, and try assists. That would be ideal if he can pick up tries and try assists, because that's something that's lacked in his game over the last few years. So if that was to increase a bit, then he has some value for sure. And there's a really solid value option, a mid-range option in a position that could be pretty tough unless we do get Mr. Ethan Strange rather than Weeks. Then that centre position could be worse or better, obviously, depending on who gets it. Jesse Ramien, guys, you can't not talk about him because he has upside in the 70s, which you saw in the first 5 games last year. Pretty nice draw for the Sharkies apart from round 1. He's probably got the highest chance of making money, is what I had in there. Like, Aiken's not going to get the spot. I think Ramien could start hotter than Simonson and Sully. Sully and Simonson probably a little bit more of like might take the step up above their average, but kind of hang. Ramien could go 70-60 like he did last year and go bang, but then obviously be like this with his money-making potential. So that's Ramien. Not going to push you away from him either. Dean Mariner, guys, a full 50k. The duel is a little bit awkward. He's in a good team. He's super talented, obviously. He's at the wing spot, which is great, but how long does he get it? If he has one bad game, is he gone? Broncos have a tougher draw. There's a few things to think about, but I definitely think that he could come out and score well. I did say that he might have in my hot takes that he might have a few quiet weeks, and then just because he doesn't get a lot of ball or whatever, however it works out with the tougher draw, and then he'll start to make some good cash. So that's where I'm at with the centers. Finish it off, guys. Again, thanks for being here. The wing fullback guns. So Kalen Ponga is up top. I have a lot of options in this one, which is going to be a fun one. But he's the best fullback in this list, clearly, because he has upside if he plays like he did the second half of the year. Close to 10 points of value if that's the case, but it's likely to be sort of a 55 to 58 guy and start really well. He's fit, he's firing, no reason why he can't. Tommy Trbojevic, my thoughts on him have obviously increased. I did not have him as a clear option a while ago, but watching that Manly documentary, of course, I'm going to get sucked in by that. But the talk of him being the fastest he has been and the fittest in the last couple of years, so that's massive news. And we saw what he did, averaging 80 and 21. I'm expecting it to either be about the 60 mark or a 45 average, and he's priced at 47. So he's not really going to hurt you if he averages 45. 60 is the upside for me. There's not a lot of downside apart from the injury risk. So if that was the case, then that's where it can be, 30 or something like that. So 30, 45 or 60. If that's enough for you, I think you should go for it. Really, I'm not going to push you away from that at all. Latrell Mitchell, I think he's a good option with the tougher start. Very much the same with Reece Walsh. They both could score what they are priced at, go a little bit above that, have some big games. It's like volatility with these wing fullbacks. Both could be a really, really cool option. Scotty Drinkwater, so he's the next on the list there as I'm fixing up my numbers. And with Scotty, really the question here is that you need to make sure his running game is on, because on the weekend he had 3 try assists and only got like 30 points, right? I'm not going to start with him because of last year, but if you do, I'm not going to push you away from him because he looks absolutely incredible. And that trials exactly showed that for me, that he is the focal point of this attack and they need everything to go well from him for this team to go well. I think that if everyone can step up a little bit, they could be an elite team, but Drinkwater has to be elite. And but his running game is where he's going to obviously get the meters, the tackle breaks, the offloads and the like. Didn't have to show that on the weekend, but he will show that, I think, throughout the first bunch of games. And if you start with him, again, I won't push you away. Tedesco, he looked way better in the trial than last season. It sounds like he's doing faster speeds, which is good. So body's a little bit better, and surely the Roosters improve from here. So Teddy, I won't push you away again, but a fairly tough draw to start. Also, all of the good teams seem to have a tougher draw. Just seems to be how it goes. Dolphins, Titans have a bit of an easier one. Cowboys as well. Taylor May. Here we go. It's an interesting one. I didn't really think of it too much until the other day, but he's going to get the duel. So he'll be a center and a fullback, wing fullback duel, right? He's super talented. He's in a great team. He came back red hot. He could have scored 70 plus if that final try was given. And definitely not someone I'd push you away from. A 600k, it's a little bit awkward, but and the tougher draw with the buy in round 5. So that's probably the slight worry with Talon. But could be a really good option following that. Roger, Tuivasa-Sheck. We had to put him in this list because he looked amazing, right? The dual position he's going to get, wing, fullback, and center. So again, a little bit more expensive than Talon at 619. That's why I'll push you to Talon over Roger. But if you do like him, I'm not going to, again, won't push you away from him. He's priced like he scored in wing fullback at the fullback position though. So that's my kind of worry, is that can he do that at the center position? He isn't a better team though, and that's something to really note, that the improved team should just give him more opportunities, that's for sure. And then finish it off with the wing fullback value rankings, guys. We do have Pap up top, obviously, the highest upside. But the draw is fairly tough to kick things off with the buy in round 4, and he has no goal kicking. So that's where it's like, if you actually wanted to go randomly for it and go against the pack and avoid him for the first few weeks, you're looking to get him in round 5 or 6 for sure. But you could get away with it. You could average like 30, lose a tiny bit of cash. You could get some better scoring somewhere else for sure. But I do think it's way too much of a risk to do it. But if you did have the balls to do it and it worked out, well played to you. It'd be like, I suppose he has way more upside than that of like Brandon Smith. But if you did it with Brandon Smith last year, it was more expensive as well. Yeah, this seems like more of a risk than that of Smithy last year for sure. Jacob Kiraz I have in the next spot, guys. There's a potential for him to play center this year, or the start anyway. Given Blake Wilson was absolutely incredible, I think he's improved and taken a big leap this year, that they leave Wilson on the wing and Kiraz plays at center and Crichton on the other, so right center for Kiraz. And if that's the case, I think that, you know, defensively you get some good stats there. He'll run the footy plenty. I think he has some value if he gets that duel. And if he's named in center in round 1, I'm likely to own him. That's so valuable, that duel. And the back injury is the worry, and we didn't get to see him in trials, so he was put on ice for that, and hopefully he is back for that. And if that's the case, yeah, look into him for sure. Geordie Rapana, 2 to go, guys. The question mark here is, how long does he play fullback? He's priced at 480 odd, and he definitely has some scary volatility, but has plenty of upside on the back end, having scores of, in his last 10, of like 50, 60, 70, and 80. That's cool news. But again, how long is he going to be there? And a year older for him, can he continue to do that in a team that's just okay? Not sure. And then Selvin Cobbo to finish, guys. He'll have the dual position, given he's going to be playing a new position. Can he get to Herbie numbers? And if that's the case, he's 5 points undervalued. If he can't, and he's learning the position, I think similar to that of Suoli'i last year, moving from the wing, which was his best position, to the centers, it dropped him a fair bit. That could happen to Cobbo, or it could bring him up to Herbie numbers. But I do think Herbie obviously is more of an out-and-out center ball runner. Cobbo, we haven't seen it yet. So that's the big question. But if you went for him, again, I won't push you away. Guys, that was the guns and the value video for round 1. We will do a quicker one next week if things have changed. Obviously as well, once we get all of the team list information. So we'll have new information on Kiraz, on Rapana, all these types of guys. So we'll do that in another one, probably a bit shorter than this one. So yeah, just really thank you all for being here for this one. Really enjoy it. Enjoy the video. Like I enjoy making them and putting in the effort. So all I ask for in return is that you watch these videos for as long as possible. That helps me with the views, with the retention, all the good stuff that's needed for me to grow on YouTube. So thanks for that again, and we'll catch you in the next few videos.